And I'm curious how you're feeling in this moment.
I guess the next thing that wanted to come out was, I'm wondering if you're worried about it too, or like, do you share that concern or no?
Yeah.
And that is what happens, like clockwork. If you listen with sufficient spaciousness, sooner or later, the person becomes interested in your experience, spontaneously. You don't even have to work hard for it. So here's the question. Are you worried about it too?
Well, it has certainly been on my mind, and I've been giving it a lot of thought. I've really mulled it over, and I've talked to my leadership team about it, because I have some of the same concerns that you do, and I also know this organization has a 30-year history in the community, and I don't want to jeopardize what we've built up. So it has been on my mind. And
I would pause here.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and check back in with her. There's something about we are so unused to maintain connection and check in with each other that we very often launch into just saying a lot of things and then saying more things. Every time you want to say, that may be a time to check in with the other person. Did the message get in? Did you connect? Did it contribute? Did it not? Where are they? Are they ready for the next piece? Any one of these things, we usually just don't check in. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time, and it helps you navigate together instead of being on two separate currents that by accident sometimes come together.
It seems to me like if she keeps going, then there might be a no coming up here that doesn't get said, but then she'll turn off, and then there'll be a whole other kind of no, instead of having worked, having done your work to get that yes that you finally got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how would you check in with her at this point?
so I would just pause. Mm-hmm. I think that would be, I think I would pause at that point and look at her and give her an opportunity to respond. I think if I just create, she'll probably say something. She looked like she was going to say something. Mm-hmm. And if not, I could prompt something. But I think just pausing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting is that you've had some of the same concerns that I've had, and that you've talked about it with your team, and that you guys have, I'm not really clear, you decided that it's okay, you're just, the concerns aren't big enough, or?
Well, I decided that I know this sounds a little funny, I decided that the risks of having them out of the tent were greater than the risks of having them in the tent. My feeling, is that they've been kind of haphazard in certain ways. It's created some problems for all of us. My intention, or my hope, is that if we bring them in the fold, that they will start to have a better understanding of best practices. That they will see how we interact with each other, how we respect each other, how we hold each other with care around confidentiality and around things, like that, so that we can continue on with our collaborations.
So your strategy is like to include them so that they kind of learn the ropes or learn how we all operate, and then maybe they'll change. And that'll be safer for all of us?
Yeah, I think yes. I'm sensing that it's not out of ill will that they've done some of these things. It's out of lack of experience and lack of mentoring and lack of coaching. So I'm wanting to create some more opportunities for that.
And you have hope that they're kind of open to that?
Yes, I did, and I had a long conversation with Beth, the director, and I did tell her what my concerns were. I laid them out, and I told her why I was going to reach out to them, and that I had reservations about it, but it seemed that it was more valuable to bring them in and to work through some of these things as a group together.
Now I'm noticing I'm more kind of open to coming. Partly because we share the same concern and because you already reached out to Beth. And there's something I like about this idea of like bringing them in as opposed to excluding them and kind of making them the enemy.
There is the piece that I'm getting from all of this is a very deep principle of trying to counter the ethos of, excluding everybody and excluding everybody and excluding everybody except the ones that are perfectly aligned with exactly who you are. So then you have only you and yourself and yourself and yourself in the room at the end.
Right.
That there is something about here that you are modeling a different kind of integrity around a different value of working with the differences, working with the conflict, working with the discomfort to create cohesion through it rather than give up on people. Is that part of the value that is leading you to do this?
Yes. And I also, inside, I know I'm not an idiot. And that if I start to get the sense that we aren't connecting with her around these things, that I'll have a next step.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to like sit on a runaway train.
So part of it is also implicitly, again, I'm hearing the willingness to confront this other person. And so there is something about if we want to work together in collaboration when there are issues, we need to be really good at giving each other feedback. Like real feedback, honest feedback. So all the niceties are not going to create powerful collaboration because the niceties it's almost like they have the exclusion as the kind of like backdrop. We will be nice to each other for as long as it works out, and then we're going to drop each other. We're never going to actually face our conflicts and work through them. And that is the value that you're bringing into this collaboration, which I'm really appreciating. And I get a sense that Deb here is getting inspired about that possibility.
Yeah, and I don't feel at all like you're pressuring me or trying to convince me to join you guys.
And that's because you heard her so fully. And you responded to her curiosity rather than pushing the explanation on her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sigal, anything?
I'm actually curious to hear from Elise.
Elise, are you there on the call?
I am.
Any feedback for us about how we've been doing this?
It's just beautiful to hear you work around the value of inclusiveness. It was fantastic for me. Really helpful, because that's ultimately what we wanted to achieve here, was to understand each other and create something together that none of us could create on our own.
Yeah. Anything else? Any questions or other comments that you have?
You know, I think that the tendency to feel defensive as this one organization was sort of saying, you know, you can't possibly be taken seriously as a funder if you include this M organization. Under that statement is a great deal of care, actually.
Yes.
And that came through to me, just how important it is to all the organizations that our there's a care for our reputation under that. And if I'm able to step beyond the trigger to become and defend and really hear that care that's underneath, then we can connect more deeply.
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad that insight came through. Sigal, anything?
No, I think it's time for us to take a break, actually, and we can come back and reflect on more of all of the lessons at the end of the program.